Hello pianists, you just heard Carol the Bells from Faber's Adult Piano Adventures Christmas Book 2 on pages 66 to 67. This is a supplement to their popular all-in-one Piano Adventures method book out of level 2 as well. Carol the Bells was not originally a Christmas carol. It was actually a 1916 choral piece based on a Ukrainian folk chant. It was about the welcoming in of the new year in the spring. In 1936, though, an American composer heard this and thought that this popular motif sounded like tolling bells, so he wrote the Christmas lyrics that we now know and love today. If you want to learn this is probably best for a little later beginner, as it does align with that Book 2 skills. The most challenging aspects are great for developing your left hand independence, as the right hand is the softer bell motif, but the left hand has these accented. A louder motive goes into some different intervals in the left hand. The right hand has to move pretty quickly by octaves, and it has some scales. So it's great for all of those triads and scales we've been working on, getting the left hand voice louder than right hand. The amount of time to learn this in a quick and stylistically correct manner is about a month. You can take your time to go through the different stages. Maybe the note reading will take you about a week. The rhythm will take some time as well in the articulation, so you can build it up to this quick piece. Stay tuned as I'll talk you through the different stages of my Bronson musical learning pyramid. Pianists, let's start with the rhythm. We always look at the time signature first to know how to count this and feel this piece. This is kind of like a dance, so it's in this 3/4 time signature. I'm going to go through and just target some different measures to show you how to count it. You can tap it, you can clap it along with me. So measure 1, the popular motif, is 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and over. It changes a little bit at measure 9 when the left hand sustains dotted half notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 2 and 3 and 1. Notice they're not slurred, so you can lift those in between. Measure 17 starts to combine the hands more. The left hand is in quarter notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. And you can even practice tapping that left hand under the motif. Okay. Next rhythm to talk about is at measure 25, where the right hand has the scales, left hand is still on dotted half notes. The counting goes 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. So scales, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2, 3. And then back like measure 9 with the left hand on dotted half notes. So you can practice taking your time, going back to that performance demo, tapping one hand and counting, tapping the other hand, and then you can even slow it down and tap it while you tap your foot, or use the metronome for the stability of the pole. I would suggest a final performance goal of around 152 or a little bit faster. Next, let's move to the note reading and fingering category of our musical learning pyramid. We always start with the key signature. 0 sharps or flats are indicated, which we typically know that as C major. That wasn't really the sonority of this piece. If I look at the very ending note of an A in the beginning motive, has that minor sound. This is based on A minor, the relative minor to C. So if you know your key signature C, you go down 3 half steps, 1, 2, 3. We're in A minor. 5-finger scale or natural minor scale. You can check out some other tutorials to know how to play those scales to get you thinking in your key. All right, pianists, let's first go through the right hand note reading. We're going to start with our right hand on a C6, which is 2 octaves above middle C. Goes in a stepwise motion, then a third, over and over. Measure 5, it moves down an octave to a C5. That's really fast to do that move. So while you're playing the right hand, your eyes should be spotting your next note, and it guides it there. You can even just practice jumping 3 to 3 from C6 to C5. Now that we're at C5, it stays there until measure 17. We're going to add a third below that C. You're going to have to lift that A when the slur ends to get it to re-speak. Measure 21, we go up by a third. Now we are in a C major position. Over and over. Measure 25, we're going to extend up to an A5 with a 5-finger. There is a fingering change here, so we go 5, 4, 1 to 4, 3 stays there, 1, 4. That would be a spot to really isolate several times to go 5, 4, 1, 4, 3 is the same, 1, 4. Next at measure 29, I have an A melodic minor scale, but it starts on the 5th of E. There's that sharp 6 and 7. Repeats itself. Now it starts to get a little easier again. C5, over and over. 41, you're going to look and spot that C6 ahead of time and move it up. Right hand moves back down one more time. Notice that time signature change of a 4/4 thirds. Ends with tonic A. That's the right hand. Take some time going through that whole piece, tapping your foot so you start to combine rhythm with correct note reading. Next, let's go to the left hand note reading. All right, in the left hand, it starts on an A4. Notice it's marked as a treble clef. It's much easier to read that in treble clef than all those ledger lines above the bass clef. So we start on A4, moves down by seconds. Now we're in thirds, same pattern. 2, 3, 1, 3, moves down, 1, 3, fifth with 1 and 5. Measure 17, I have a sixth, 1 and 5, to 1, 3, fifth, 2, 3, repeats. Change the fingering, 3, 1 to 1, 5, major 6th, minor 7th, major 6th, back to a perfect 5th. I'm at 27, minor 6th, careful, that's an F natural this time, back to a perfect 5th, major 30, moves down to a B below middle C, seconds, 32, now we're on seconds, 1, 2, 3, third, 2, 3, fourth, 2, 3, fifth, down to A2, and it stays there until we play at the very end in A number 1. Remember that the first A on your piano is actually an A0 because it doesn't have a full octave, so this is actually A1. So take some time to get all of that left hand note reading comfortable, and then to start to combine it hands together. I would practice the right hand playing it, and you could tap the left hand along looking at measure 9. You could tap left hand, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. That's helpful, especially at measure 17. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So take your time, play one hand, tap the other. You could even use my performance demo just to practice tapping one hand along, or even playing one hand along with that. Next up, pianists, is probably the most rewarding category of this piece, is the articulations, to really make it sound like a bell piece. This has a range of articulations. The right hand starts on a tenuto. Those are those lines above the notes. It means to emphasize and press slightly into those notes. And along with articulations, we're going to talk about a little bit of technique today. So you've got to use some arm weight to get that to be voiced out louder. So you're going to engage down, and then it's going to rotate left, right, to the left with that thumb going higher. So it elevates higher to go from arm weight to just more the fingers. So on. There's some other videos you can watch just to practice that forearm rotation to get that comfortable to play here. The next articulation is, of course, the slurs that you were hearing, connecting those. It's a fast enough piece, you probably don't have time really just to lift in between those slurs though, so keep it connected. Let's next look at the left hand. The left hand has an accent starting at measure 9. That will be an arm weight that goes down, 1, 2, lifts, 2, lift, 1, 2, lift, add a third, 1 and 3. So the first page is all tenutos and accents. Measure 25, the right hand now gets an accent on that high A accent, lighter. Scales, and then the tenutos return, of course, at that recap at measure 33. Last articulations would be the last two measures with the accents. Arm weight down, 1 and 2 and then light at the end. It's like a distant bell. Next, pianists, let's talk about how to combine those different articulations, which starts to point us to the dynamics and the voicing of this piece. If you look at measure 9, notice that the left hand has an accent while the right hand has a tenuto. Which one of those articulations is louder? It's definitely the accent. So I'd actually practice tapping that right hand lightly. Then you could do some silent play of the right hand on top of the keys. Then put it together. So on, that way you get that left hand bell to be louder than the right hand soft, distant sounding bells. Let's continue talking about which hand to play louder. The voicing stays in the left hand all the way from measures 1 through 24, really measure 9 through 24. And then at 25, the right hand has the accents and the left hand has nothing marked for articulation. So the right hand's louder. This is more singable up there in the right hand too. So the left hand would be softer. You could do silent play of the left hand. So on. So it stays with the right hand voice, switches back to the left hand at the recap at measure 33, and then it's back more to that left hand. Next up, pianists, we're going to talk about adding the pedal, but I'm also going to start to add some phrase goals so you can hear how we shape these. So I'm going to add the pedal, but listen that the third measure is the loudest. This is pretty standard 4-bar shaping. Pedal goes down with the hand, 1, 2, here's my goal, move it down, 1, 2, 3, 4, pedal, 1, 2, 3, pedal, 1, up on 1, that's the general idea, is it goes up and down on beats 1 until measure 37, it stays down all the way through to the end. The very last 2 measures, to add some resonance, you might want to add the pedal as well. 1 and 2 and up, down, up, down, up, down, and then keep it down for that low A. Let me explain just a little bit more about the phrase shaping. Let's look at measure 17. It's pretty much 4-bar phrasing up to there. And then it's more like 2 measures come together. So 17 will be louder than 18. Now we're going to grow, keep growing, 2, 3, decrease, follow the rise and fall, phrase goal, 4-bar phrasing, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think a polka retardata would also be appropriate at the end of that so those bells can slow down. In summary, to build up to that style and mood we've been working on that all the way through, it really exists on a lively tempo. So about 152 or a little bit faster would be appropriate. Get those rhythms really comfortable, steady pulse. Take your time with the metronome, tapping your foot along, counting out loud. Hand separate for note accuracy. I would even label some of those intervals in the left hand. Be careful on those accidentals in the middle section. Or those major 6 change off to minor 6 as well. Accidentals in those A melodic minor scales. Spend quite a bit of time on the articulations. Left hand by itself, getting that arm weight to go down for accents, while the right hand has those tenutos, the press into the key, to get that motive to become softer all the way through. And then the dynamics, 4-bar shaping, where the third measure is the loudest, all the way through to about measure 25, where we follow the rise and fall of the line as it descends. Take your time, be patient, enjoy the progress and the process. Play it with excitement and enjoy blessing your friends and family with this Carol of the Bells.